Welcome to Season 4 of the Powered by Rock podcast. We'll bring you the best stories in rock music with a focus on highlighting independent rock musicians and their music from all over the world. No, rock music isn't dead. It's getting better and better. It's just time for you to start paying attention again. With that said, let's get this party started.
The mountain's gonna rise and fall by me.
Hello and welcome to the Powered by Rock podcast. We're going to be speaking with Pedro Aida of the supergroup punk band Fire Sale today. Fire Sale may be a pretty new band, but the members of the band are anything but punk rock noobs. The band consists of Matt Riddle of Face, Pulley and No Use for a Name fame, Chris Swinney from formerly of the Ataris, Matt Morris, and Pedro himself from Ann Beretta, who's been playing guitar in that band for a while. I have the privilege and honor of speaking with Pedro today, who is the lead vocalist for Fire Sale, and to talk about the newest 2-song EP they just released, and to talk about some of the inner workings of working in a punk band these days. So, hey, Pedro, welcome to the show.
Hey, how's it going? Happy to be here.
Yeah. Thanks for taking the time, because I know, the reason why my voice sounds weird, in case anybody's ever wondering, not that people give a shit about me, because I don't talk that much during these things anyway, but I just got done from 3 days of punk rock bowling, and yelling to people while music's playing kind of takes it out of your voice for a while.
And you also have that post-festival. There's the post-festival flu.
Yeah.
Probably you're just exhaustion, depression, hangover, and then your
probably
voice
got 3 strains of COVID in me right now too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. So I kind of want to open this up by kind of asking the first and most obvious question, because I think people there's not a lot of information on the internet. I kind of did deep research as much as I could, and I have the press release and stuff like that. But, the first question I ask is, obviously it's pretty clear that Matt's no longer in the bands that he was in. Chris is no longer in the Ataris, but as far as I know, you're still in Ann Beretta, right? Or are you now?
Yeah. Well, ironically, Ann Beretta is playing their last ever show, next Saturday.
Oh, okay.
June 10th. So nice. If you're going to be in the Richmond area by yourself, I don't know when this is coming out, but
it should be. Yeah, it'll be right before that. So yeah.
Okay, so if you're around Richmond, you want to catch Ann Beretta's last show ever, hit up Ann Beretta on the socials, and you'll get a ticket link there. There's some cool bands playing that show. Unfortunately, I won't be there because I have a conflict with the Iron Roses. Which is another band I play guitar in.
Gotcha.
I play rhythm guitar in the Iron Roses. We're going to be in Detroit, and that was a non-negotiable sort of contractual obligation for me. So
if you don't go, you're out of the band. Is that what you're saying?
Not so much that, but it's just a lot of things riding on us performing at this thing.
Sure.
So we got my buddy Kevin to fill in on guitar. So yeah, as of now, I guess you could say I'm no longer in Ann Beretta. Because I won't be participating in the last show. My main bands that besides Fire Sale right now are the Iron Roses and Shot Clock. Okay.
And you still actively play in those bands? They're still recording. How do you juggle all those?
Mm-hmm. Well, fortunately, it's Fire Sale so far has been mostly a writing project.
Yeah.
And obviously recording and releasing. We've only played the one show in Dallas last April, I believe, or early May. I forget. Time is a weird thing.
Yeah.
But it was recently. It was within the last 2 months. We went down to Dallas to film a music video, which comes out next Friday, the 9th of June. And we met for the first time in person, all 4 of us. We rehearsed. We took some pictures, shot a music video, and played a show, all in 2 days.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because it's weird, because we were just talking right before this, how the hell did you guys all find each other? Because you're not anywhere geographically near each other.
Yeah,
I was is this you kind of reached out, or you have crossed paths? But you just said you just met for the first time in person. So
yeah, the central hub for how we all met was through Chris's podcast. Chris, our guitarist, has a podcast called That One Time on Tour.
Yep.
And I became a fan of the podcast and a follower of the podcast sometime around early 2020, late 2019. And I had hit up Chris on Instagram just saying, hey, I enjoy your podcast. Just want to say that, that I'm enjoying it, and keep doing what you're doing. And he had responded that, he had played with Ann Beretta in the past with his other bands. And I think he even they gave him a hoodie for some reason. I forget. He let him stay at their house or something. There was a story before I was in Ann Beretta.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so we just kind of kept in touch about that. Nothing about playing music together. And when he wrote a song, and he got Matt Riddle to play bass on it, and he did sort of a contest, you could say. He put out to his listeners, he wrote a song. If you want to submit your vocals, it'll be a fun idea. It's a pandemic thing.
Yeah.
And so I was one of many to submit. And we just clicked. He liked what I did with his song, and he would send me the stems. I would record them here in my studio, and he just liked what I did. So we put together a band, and it wasn't really a band. I would say it was like, hey, let's do this again, and let's have different people play on it, almost like fun. Each song will be different people, and it ended up being Matt on everything. Of course, Chris played guitar. I sang. We've gone through a couple different drummers since the inception.
Yeah.
But we eventually knew Matt Morris through his Descendants tribute stuff he does on YouTube, and and that's so far solidified the lineup, and that's kind of how we got started.
Yeah, and I know, obviously, when a band starts to get together, like in general, like it's a pretty awkward. It's like we're all over 35, 40 years old, and it's like it's kind of awkward. Like, how do you start a band with guys that are like older now? It's like, how do you make friends with adult males? It's weird. But was there any trepidation for you with working with Matt and Chris, and then obviously those former members like Tim from Protest the Hero and Tucker from Thursday and all these other guys that you're bringing in and out? But was it for you? Was just like, well, I'm not actually working with them. I'm kind of doing on my own.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what it was. It was just, hey, here's another song idea. When you get to it, write some lyrics and sing it and send us the files. Yeah. So it was very this isn't real kind of thing. Yeah. It was cool that those other guys that have notoriety are playing in the band, and I was stoked about that. But I never thought it would turn into releasing, really releasing music and playing shows and stuff at that time. Yeah. So it wasn't hard for me it didn't seem like a lot of commitment. So I didn't have to worry about it clashing with other things I'm doing or whatever. For me, it was kind of a cool outlet to write melodies and lyrics to songs that I wouldn't normally write in that style. So it was it's been fun to do it for these guys. Now, clearly the style is music I've listened to for years and years, but it's just not the style of bands I've been in or written in, over the past 20 years. So it was cool to go back and dig deep on my teenage influences to make something cool. And so far, everyone's been happy with what I do. So as long as they like it, I'll stick around.
Yeah, I mean, the vocals are great. So I don't know all the bands that you play in, but I know Ann Beretta, you're playing lead guitar. Are you singing in the other bands that you're in, or?
Yeah, in the Iron Roses, I sing harmonies.
Okay.
And I play rhythm guitar. In Ann Beretta, I played lead guitar and sang backups. And then Shot Clock is my 3-piece pop punk band.
Okay.
That I've been doing about as long as Fire Sale. And I sing lead in that band. We're a 3-piece. I sing lead and play guitar. Yeah.
So I mean, your vocals are great. For a person that hasn't been leading, the front man of a band for a long time, was that weird that you're now kind of the front person for a band?
Yeah.
In that sense?
Yeah. It's weird to sing and not play guitar.
Yeah.
I've been singing and playing guitar and fronting bands since middle school, I want to say.
Yeah.
But I hadn't sung lead guitar in a band since 2003. Because in 2003,
sounds exactly like my life right there. I used to sing and playing in bands, but I haven't done it for a long time, and it would be weird to kind of go back and do it now.
Mm-hmm. My high school band, eventually, I sang and wrote for that, and we broke up, when I was 21 or 22. And then when I moved to Richmond, in 2003, I was working in a studio, and I had a lot of time to kind of write my own material. So I did a little solo project, and we played some shows. So I sang for that. but that was when that ended and turned into, being hired to be in other bands. I hadn't written a lyric or anything until 2019 when I started Shot Clock with a buddy of mine.
Nice. Yeah. It's very interesting when that, like, you get that like second surge. Like I talked with Tim from Urethane, who's in a band with Steve Caballero. And I was like, you've always been like a guitar player. Like, how do you now just transfer into like a lead role and sing and stuff? And it's just an interesting concept. Cause I'm like, you don't lose it obviously, cause you're singing all the time. Like you're playing by yourself and singing and stuff like that. But it's just a different concept of like, now I have more than one thing, or I got to focus on this thing that I haven't been focusing on. Right.
And you're the front person. So you have to be a lot more, you're, not just the singing and the playing, but being some kind of, having some kind of personality and presence on stage, more than just kind of chilling in the back and rocking out, kicking my
like
legs
every
up
goddamn bass player in the world. No, I'm just kidding.
yeah, exactly. So it's funny, in 2018, there's a organization in here in Richmond called Punks for Presents, and they do Christmas and then Christmas in July events every year where bands do tributes of other bands.
Yeah.
And then name them something holiday or winter themed.
Gotcha.
Like Slayer with a sleigh, SLEIGH.
Yeah.
And they'll play a Slayer tribute set, and they'll change the lyrics to be Christmassy or not change the lyrics at all.
Yeah.
And I finally participated in one, and we did Face to Face. We did Slay to Face.
That's funny.
And so I sang in that, and we did a 3-piece thing, and had like a little 25-minute set, and that was the first time I'd sung a show, and I think that inspired me to start writing and doing a new project just a year later.
Nice. Need something to kickstart you back in, right?
Yeah, it was just fun to play a show and sing, and I hadn't done it in almost 20 years, so it was cool to dive back in. It kind of gave me the bug, I wanted to do it again, so that's when I started Shot Clock. Late 2019. Me and some friends went down to Fest in Gainesville, and we came back and we were like, hey, let's start a band and go play the next Fest. And that's exactly what happened. We're like, all right, we have a year. If we write songs in the next few months and release an EP, we can submit to get on the festival. And of course we did.
You make it sound so fucking easy.
Well, Ann Beretta had played Fest a bunch of times in the past.
Yeah.
So we sort of dropped that name a lot when submitting, and we had some connections there. So we were able to get on the 2021 Fest. Well, it was a 2020 Fest, but obviously that didn't happen. So 2021 is when we got to play. So that was cool. And by that point, Fire Sale had submitted some songs and kind of had that started rolling. Yeah,
that's awesome. So let's talk about the music, because it's fucking ripping, right? Like the song of Fool's Errand is a pretty top-notch song. Pretty hard to go wrong when you have like really talented musicians going together and stuff like that. But obviously you were saying Chris kind of wrote the first song. Are you guys sharing writing duties, or are you writing now, or how's it going?
I think Fool's Errand that's Matt Riddle's song.
Okay. I know he said something about how he started playing the bass line. I wasn't sure if he actually wrote the actual song.
So that's an old song of his, at least that bass line and part of it. I think both those songs, if my memory serves me, are on the new single. But Fool's Errand, ironically, was a song that Matt just didn't like anymore. He didn't think it had any life, and he was like, if you want to do something with it, we can bring it back to life, see if it works. So I chopped it up a little bit and added the melody and the vocals and sent it back to him, and he loved it. He was like, happy that his song that he had given up on was revived and kind of had a new light on it. So it's turned into a song, our poppiest song, and a song that people seem to really have responded well to. So it's cool that we did that out of a song that was essentially on the back burner.
Yeah. Was that the music video that you guys are putting out, is for that song?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah.
It's
and that's going to come out, you said, soon?
Yep. It's going to come out Friday, June 9th.
Oh, nice. Perfect.
So I'm assuming in the morning or at noon. Yeah. So we'll be on the lookout for that. It'll be on YouTube and Instagram and Facebook and everything.
Very cool. And then obviously, this band, for a lot of people, when I first heard it, I was like, it's pretty skate punk. like
Mhm.
themed, but it feels like it's more evolved, right? It's not just like, you know, the 90s classic skate punk. It's got more layers, it's more melodic, it's more, you know,
Yeah.
technically savvy than a punk band would put out back in the 90s. So what's
Mhm.
kind of the thing that you kind of see with the band that kind of separates it from other, like maybe skate punk or punk bands in general?
Yeah, it's got that, you know, right now we only have one song that we've written that has that fat wreck drum beat.
Yeah.
So it's more mid-tempo. I would say um Chris Swinney's influences are very diverse.
Yeah.
He loves obviously the fat wreck epitaph sound as influences in his youth, but he really loves metal.
Yeah.
And his favorite band is Metallica. He's seen them play like 15 times or something like that. Maybe more. I could be way underestimating that.
He single-handedly paid for Lars's house or something.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And so that, and you know, when I get the song, the layout is mostly done, you know, the verses and the choruses and the bridges and all that, and the riffs. And what I do is I bring it up, pull it up in my program, and you know, I'll say, hey, you know, this verse is way too long. This chorus is too long. Let's add a pre-chorus. Let's chop this pre-chorus in half. And it's kind of based on the melody and the lyrics and how I want them to go.
Yeah.
And so I'll chop up the song, add my lyrics, and then, you know, eventually I'll re-record it with the new edits.
Nice. So you're kind of also
but-
like producing the songs after they
Yeah.
kind of finish as well.
Yeah,
then.
exactly. Because that's what I do. You know, when I'm not playing music, I'm recording bands or
Nice.
mixing or producing. So I like to come at these songs with a different mentality, not just a vocalist, but also you know, in a way direct the flow of the song. So yeah, like Chris is great at writing riffs and parts and being creative, and I'll sort of kind of like trim the fat, as we say.
Yeah.
Where like, hey, let's keep the song flowing, no stop. If you notice that the song has barely any, it always goes from one section to the next without too much just filler. And if there's any part in the song where I feel like there should be more just space, I'll just tell Chris to do a guitar solo because he's a really good guitar player. He's a shredder. I'm like, you got to shred, man. Do a solo. Come on.
Yeah.
I can't sing the whole time. My voice won't last live.
Yeah. It's like there's only 14 words in this thing. Come on, now you're gonna have to.
I know
fill some time here.
exactly. I'm very big on repeating lines and this and that. You know, just keep it simple. But I feel like as far as influences go, you know, I don't want to sound like NoFX. I don't want to sound like, you know, a recycled version of that Fat Wreck sound. It's been done a million times. I'd like to add a little more creativity into it or blend other influences. And we all come from different backgrounds. Like Matt Riddle and Chris love metal music and old school punk and all that. I like folk and Americana, as well as punk, of course. But I think I'm a little younger than them, so I you know, kind of got a little bit of the early '90s emo buzz. That I like to pull from. I love bands like Get Up Kids, Jimmy Eat World, things like that. And I'm also more into a lot into newer, younger bands that are coming out doing really cool things. Especially bands you might see at like Fest and that kind of stuff. Yeah. Menzingers, stuff like that.
I like how you say the Menzingers are younger. I mean, they are younger than the, you know, the headliners of like major tours, but
right.
I mean,
they've
been around for a while.
Right. If we're talking about bands that we are drawing influences from, you know, you're going back to, you know, 90s stuff. So talking about guys in their late 40s, 50s. Yeah. Where I say younger when I say Menzingers because they're probably in their mid 30s to late 30s. Exactly. You know? That's
they're still young
to me.
Comparatively.
Yeah. Yeah, but there's also so many bands that are doing really cool stuff that are young, like just like it was back in the day. And it's a lot of people get older, they get jaded, and they don't give younger bands the respect that they deserve. So I try to keep as much as possible to keep my ear on the pulse, especially here in Richmond. A lot of cool bands coming up, and also bands, you know, making things happen. So yeah, the way it kind of works out so far has been really cool, and people have really, I mean, like, I've been in lots of bands that have done cool things, cool tours, cool shows, but just lately with the attention we've gotten as a band that has never, you know, has only played one show, is I'm just like, wow, people like it, cool. I didn't, yeah, I always thought it was good, but I've been in so many bands that are good and no one gives a shit,
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
So yeah, I guess just, Chris is a good, Chris has always been a good marketer and a good, he really hustles for the band. So I always give him that.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of one thing that I actually do kind of like I'm starting a new mini series with this podcast about how like you can start to promote yourself, because most musicians aren't very good at running a business. So like they don't realize that their band is a business. And if they really want to actually make money as a career from their music, they have to start running things like that. So kind of like, obviously like Chris is doing it with like his podcast. He's been doing, music for years, but is there anything like any piece of advice for like young bands that maybe you would have that like, here's like the best thing you can do for your band is this when you're first starting out, so that way you can actually start to kind of propel yourself towards a kind of career?
Yeah. I mean, as far as the business side of it, I've been in so many bands that you just, you go on tour or you go play some out of town shows and you just put money in the gas tank from your card and you don't think about it. And then next thing you know, you're spending a lot of your own money to make the band, which is understandable. But you should, even at the smallest level, you should treat your band like a business and make sure that the band is paying for itself, even if it's breaking even.
Yeah.
I would say don't bite more than you can chew. Start local, not too much. I don't like when bands play every weekend in their own hometown. You should be playing, 6 times a year max in your own.
Once a month.
I would say less.
Enough.
Yeah. Every 6 weeks is my rule with my band from Richmond, Shot Clock. Every 6 weeks.
Just have to fill a show when you're playing all the time.
Yeah, and we'll only play, like every 6 weeks if we get offered something cool and happens to be 6 weeks after. We really only play Richmond 4 or 5 times a year. But anyways, I would say don't stretch yourself too thin. You don't need to do 6-week tours when no one knows who the hell you are. Do weekenders, do Thursday through Sunday, do those once every 6 weeks, once every 2 months. We do them quarterly. We try to do one at the beginning of the year, summer, fall, and then winter.
Yeah.
We try to do different areas, like go slightly north, go slightly west, go slightly south. Pick one out of town market that's within a reasonable drive to play a lot. Yeah. Make it your second hometown.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we love going down to Norfolk. It's an hour and a half from here. I mean, it's very regional, but we have lots of friends there, and we've made friends with the bands and the venues there. And it's just nice to have a second place you can go out of town and play. I would say get really cool merch. A lot of bands, you go see them and they have like one black t-shirt and some stickers. What's done the best for us, I mean, I'm talking about Shot Clock now since we're talking about shows. Only saying that because that's my band and I manage it, is have cool merch. We have like 6 different t-shirts right now, I think. And you see a lot of bigger touring bands only have 2 or 3. And that's fine, but make cool merch. Like have fun. People buy cool designs. They don't really care about your band's name on it. Unless they're a huge fan. Unless they're a huge fan of the band, they're not going to buy anything. But we play bars and some drunk guy will be like, that's a cool shirt. I want it. And, we've made decent money, and, gas money, hotel money more from selling merch than from shows. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Set up your online store, set up your shipping stuff. I bought a label maker. We have a big cartel store. I use shipping. I use Pirate Ship. That's integrated with Big Cartel. So you just hit the thing, has all your orders. It gives you the best price on shipping. Nice. And print your label, have the shipping bags, have the boxes for the records, and be a little machine, it's treated as a little side business. And, make sure your social media is good. Make sure you have good pictures. Make sure you have decent recordings. But yeah, that's, don't stretch yourself too thin. Don't do a full length when you're a 6-month-old band. Like, just, do EPs, do singles until someone pays you to do a full length. That's how I think of it.
That's great. That's great advice. Cause the one thing that you actually didn't even mention in there, which is, I will say, cause everybody who's a musician first and foremost says the thing you need to do to get successful is make great music. And I will say, yes, you do. But everything you just said, you didn't mention make great music once, right? Like that's not how you make a career off of being a musician. And I'm not saying make bad music, like don't go out and make shitty music. Make the music you're going to make, be creative, do all that stuff. Yes.
Yeah.
But all the other stuff you said is how you actually make it a career. Because you can make great music. And like you said, no one gives a shit.
Never play a show. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I would say learn how to write songs, but that's more of an individual thing than a band thing. We're talking about a band.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, learn to write songs. Like listen to songs you love. And when you're and break them down. That's what I tell people. Break down like something on the radio or your favorite band's biggest song or something. And when I say break it down, I mean like, okay, how long is the intro? How long is the first verse? Pre-chorus, second chorus. Oh, the second verse happens to be half as long. That's kind of cool. Yeah. You know, and they skip the second pre-chorus altogether. All right, cool. Oh, then they did a quiet thing, then the last chorus. Like just I'm not saying like rip that off or anything, but think about why you like that song. You know, it's got a good melody, good chords, whatever, but it moves. It has a flow. Yeah. You know, that and lyrics, obviously. Make sure your lyrics are interesting, not just rhyming, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's before you start a band, in my opinion.
Yeah, for sure. You need to get all that stuff kind of in order to make good music to get the band together, then practice your ass off.
I mean, obviously you got to have good players, you know, or good players for the content that you're putting out. Yeah.
I think it was Dave Grohl. He'd mentioned something one time, like, I think it was Bruce. He said Bruce Dickinson basically told him the rock and roll song formula was like verse, chorus, verse, chorus. And that's it. Like you just do that over and over. You'll make every song a hit. He was like, yeah. So he's like, for the first like 2 albums, that's what he did or something. I was like, that's oversimplifying, Dave, but yes, that sounds awesome.
Yeah. I also like Dave's advice. He said, you know, when you're young, you just have to suck.
Yeah.
Go in a garage with 4 other kids and you can all suck. And then you'll put out music that sucks and then you'll get better.
Yeah. And then eventually
don't be afraid
to suck.
Don't be afraid to suck. If you're young, don't be afraid to suck.
Yeah, exactly. You know? Right.
Just put out shit, have fun, you know?
Yeah. I mean, that's the best part of it is like, you know, there's nothing on earth that can replicate playing a live show. Like you can't go do something else. Like maybe skydiving or something, I guess might be similar, but it's because you're not in control and you're not the one that created that. It's nothing. There's nothing like it. Playing your own music in front of a live audience. It's
absolutely. There was somebody, I forget where I was, but I saw somebody singing along and I was like, huh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
You know, like we're not like a big band or anything. So we're not used to having a room full of people singing along, but there was 1 or 2 people like singing along to the words. And I was like, wow, that's cool. I wrote that in my garage and you're singing it now at a show. That's awesome.
Exactly.
So it's even other piece of advice for young bands. It's more important to be in a band with really cool people than it is that they are the best at their instrument.
I agree. Yep.
Just cool people.
If you don't get along, that band's not going to stick around.
Yeah, exactly. You gotta get along on the road. You gotta be a family. And if you can't be that, it's not going to work.
Yeah, exactly. Cool. Right now I want to actually play A Fool's Errand so that way people can check out, you know, at least one of the songs while they're listening to us talk about it. It's from the new Fire Sale EP. I think it's of the same name, right? A Fool's Errand 7-inch that is out on Negative Progression Records from memory. Yeah.
Yep, that's right.
So do I have your full permission as obviously one of the artists in the band to play A Fool's Errand so that way Spotify and YouTube don't take me down and say, oh, you violated our copyright laws?
You can absolutely play it.
All right, perfect. So we're going to go ahead and play A Fool's Errand. And after this, I'm going to be putting Pedro in the spotlight with some hot seat questions that you're not going to want to miss. With Powered by Rock podcast, we'll be back right after this.
Take the time to dissect
Welcome back to the Powered by Rock podcast. I'm here with Pedro Aida from Fire Sale, and I'm going to be attempting to ask him some hot seat questions that might make him sweat or cringe or just baffle him. We'll see. Pedro, are you ready to be put in the spotlight?
Here we go. I'm ready.
All right. First question. This one's maybe going to put you in a little bit of a spot with the band members that you have, but out of all the bands that, you know, either are all the members of Fire present, past or present, I should say, what is your favorite band out of all of those? Because there's some pretty good ones to choose from.
My favorite band of any of the members, past or present, in Fire Sale?
Yes.
Face to Face, easy.
I thought you might say that. Considering we just talked about how you played in a Face to Face tribute band for like a holiday festival thing.
Yeah. All
right. So now I will ask what the question I was going to ask, and I don't know if you're going to want to answer this or not, because I truly believe that Scott Shiflett is a great bass player, Face to Face. Like he's done a phenomenal job. I also believe that Big Choice probably still is my favorite album by Face to Face. So do you believe that Matt Riddle era Face to Face is better than post Matt Riddle era Face to Face, or do you have like best favorite parts from both of them?
I would say I love both of them. My favorite Face to Face album is the self-titled one.
Okay.
Which is with Scott.
Yeah.
But my second favorite one, I would say, is Don't Turn Away.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So you got
like, as one of those, like, I love Face to Face, but I didn't have every record, and I don't know the entire catalog.
Yeah.
Like, I never got that into Big Choice, except for certain songs. It was Don't Turn Away, self-titled, and then I was one of those kids that didn't understand Ignorance is Bliss. I was like, what is this?
Yeah. Why are you putting this out? And it's like, oh, it's actually just really good
we're
music.
all older and we're like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
And then the Protection, the album they put out, I want to say 2016 or 2017, maybe after that, is like one of my favorite like punk records of the past 5-10 years.
Yeah, and the last one that they put out, I can't even remember the name of it now, was freaking awesome. Like it was just like up tempo, like fire the whole way.
Farewell record from what the lyrics and stuff, it's supposed to be their last record.
Yeah. All right, cool. So now we did talk about some of the influences of the band, but obviously within you coming into the band, do you have any particular influences that the rest of the band may not be into or, have heard of that kind of give you your own stamp on the band?
I don't know if the stuff I listen to that's not very much like what we collectively listen to is bringing stuff to the table, as far as Fire Sale goes.
Yeah. You're not listening to Britney Spears on the side and being like, that's where I get my harmonies from.
I love Britney Spears. I've seen her twice.
Nice.
but I wouldn't draw influence from that for our production. It's just a whole different world.
Yeah.
But yeah, like we talked about earlier, just maybe being in some of the newer stuff, some of the newer indie, post-punk emo stuff might bring a different thing than what, collectively we have.
Yeah. It's one of those things that like, when I talk to like a lot of like, I'll say diehard punk fans where like, they don't even know rock bands outside of the punk genre most of the time. I'm like, how you only listen to punk music? That's fucking insane. Like, I don't know everything about punk music, but like, I know a decent amount, but like, I'm not going to sit here and like learn how every single band from the past 50 years of punk has been this, that, and another. I'm like, I'll take the highlights, right? Like, I don't need to know all the bands.
I'm like a, what do you call it? Jack of all trades, master of none when it comes to music.
Yeah.
I don't deep dive into bands, a single genre. I'm not a music encyclopedia. I'm the opposite. I don't retain information very well. And I'm more of a fan of, I've always said this, I'm more of a fan of albums than I am of bands.
Yeah.
Because I'll listen to like, I can say I love, Blink-182's Dude Ranch and maybe one other album and play the shit out of it. And at the end of the day, not really consider myself a fan of the band,
Yeah.
Like you have these 2 records and I think they're awesome, but it's just for me to latch onto a band, it has to be like back to back, just flawless records.
Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned that because like I'm not a huge Green Day fan by any means, but I loved Kerplunk and I loved Insomniac, which were kind of like the ones around Dookie, right? So it's like Dookie came out, I was like, Kerplunk was better, but everybody else was like, fuck, Dookie's awesome. And then Insomniac came out and it almost had no play. I mean, it had like a couple of, brain stew.
Yeah, that was a great record.
Yeah, I thought it was better, like just better songwriting. I was like, this is a really good, like the songwriting on this is way better. And like the other one was just a pop record. So I was like, this is better.
Pop record,
yeah. Cool. So you've mentioned you've been in bands for years. You've played different shows. You've probably seen some crazy shit. So I'm going to ask you, what's the craziest thing you've ever seen while playing a show or on tour or recording that made you, all the years of hard work pay off with just a story you could tell people when you're in a nursing home later?
Well, I've gotten to open for really cool bands and play some big stages in the past. I've been playing in this band called Fun Size for the past 10 years or so.
Yeah.
But we're not really an active band, so that's why I don't kind of bring them up on my roster, because we'll play like once every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
But we got to open up for Blink-182 at a festival in 2016. So that was cool. And ironically, and by accident, Ann Beretta also opened that show. It was Fun Size, Ann Beretta, a couple other bands, and then Blink. It was like a little radio show thing, festival thing.
Like a radio party. Yeah.
Right. So that wasn't really planned, but that was kind of cool. In 2004, I was in a band called River City High on a couple tours, and we got to play on MTV live. So that was kind of a pinch me moment, playing in the Times Square.
Back when MTV played music, man.
Yeah, exactly. You can't play that now. Like, oh, hey, I played on MTV. People are like, that are under 40 are like, what?
Yeah. How is that possible? Were you on a reality show?
Yeah. That they play your band in the background of some like prank clip. Like, no, it was live and we had instruments and it was in the Times Square studio with the big glass and shit. Yellow carpet there. It was cool.
That's funny. Yeah. Like
I mean, there's lots of crazy shit that happens. Like, like one time we were driving, I won't mention what band it is, but we had met somebody at a show that said we could crash at their house. And we drove, we like went to a bar with them, hung out late. And then when it got late, it was like, all right, thanks for letting us crash. Like, we'll give you a ride and stuff. And it ended up being like an hour out of the way. Oh my God. And the closer we got to this person's house, the more they were kind of like, well, let me actually make sure this is cool, And it turns out it was their parents' house, who were absolutely not cool with it. And were not cool with them even being out that late.
Wow.
Like, what is this? So we kind of essentially just dropped this person off in this big long driveway in the country and then proceeded to light off a bunch of fireworks as we pulled out. So like we got this person in a bit of trouble. But they also took an hour away and bullshitted us. They wouldn't spend much money on the hotel after that.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah. And back, driving a van and trailer out of the way an hour is, a lot of gas money you can't afford.
Yeah, exactly. Plus then having to pay for a freaking motel. Like it would have been fine if you could just crash in their driveway or something and slept there. But yeah.
Exactly. Something safe, not a shower or something. But
yeah, exactly. That's very cool. So the question number 4 here, I'm going to give you a bit of a choose your own adventure question. So I'm going to ask you to tell me what question I should ask you because either no one has ever asked you it before or because you have something you want to get off your chest.
Do I have to make up the question?
Yes.
I would want to answer more questions about gear.
About
I've never
gear?
like an interview gear, like
what kind gear. Of I was like, deer, what are you, a hunter? This is a weird way to go.
Something like that, like, or how you like how do you deal with your kids and family while being gone, being busy.
Nice.
That's always like what's it like when you walk off stage.
Yeah.
And you're back to reality. I mean, people don't realize that how normal people's lives are.
Yeah.
Even
like everybody thinks that, you're making music, so you should be getting paid well enough to just do that. Yeah. Right. But then it's like everybody's going back to becoming like a bartender or something like that. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so funny when the Iron Roses were just in Europe last December, and we played in a sold out arena 2 nights in a row, opening up for the Broilers out there in Germany, huge Germany. And you know, it's like walk off stage, applause, lights, 8,000 people, and then you know you get in your little van and you go to your little hostel. You know, it's super quiet. You know. Or the next night when we got off stage and immediately went to the airport and had to sit in a McDonald's for 8 hours. Things like that. The not glamorous, exhausting side of it.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, it's one thing to like always want to be like a rock star, right? Like everybody's like, the vision is like, I want to be a rock star. I want to be famous. I want to play big shows. You can absolutely play big shows and still be totally broke. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's special. You have to be able to play shows consistently to, you know, to have that be your career.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Big shows here might help your band get a boost financially. Like, oh, we can, you know, pay for our flights now, or hey, we can rent a nicer van for this tour, that kind of stuff, or get a hotel.
Yeah.
But yeah, ideally, you know, that's why. I mean, most people can't go through the period of, you know, I call it eating shit. It's when you're losing money before you're making money. Most 99% of people in this population could not go through that in order to. I mean, not just the money thing. It's like sometimes it's not fun.
Yeah. Sometimes people don't like what they're listening to. It's like, well,
sometimes like somebody snores or somebody's little personality things, or they're perfectly normal in a regular setting, but after weeks and weeks next to them, you start to be going to kill this person.
Yeah. Stop chewing so goddamn loudly.
I know. Yeah, exactly. Dumb stuff like that, which would happen to anybody if they were locked in a room with them for long enough. But yeah. If you can do that, and then 2 weeks later you're like, oh, hey, good to see you. Let's play more shows. Then you know you're with good people. Yeah.
Well, I think Bill Murray once said something to the effect of like, if you think that you're in love with a person before you marry them, go on a 6-week holiday with them. And if after 6 weeks you can still stand that person, then that's the person for you. It's kind of the same with a band.
Yeah, exactly. You'll know. I mean, you know, then you'll know quick who you don't want to be in a van with for 6 weeks straight.
Yeah. It's like, yeah, you already smelled. This is getting worse, but yeah.
Can't do that. Maybe I could have slept on floors and with stinky people, but I think we're all adults now. We're like, I'm getting at least a couch.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. If not, I'm taking the cushions off the couch and I'm sleeping on that on the floor.
Yeah. I'm gonna be comfortable, damn it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I answered.
Well, yeah, you did. And then obviously the other part of that question was that you were talking about, you know, leaving your family and going out and playing these shows and how that works. And, you know, obviously people in their 20s and the teens, they're not going to have to worry about that unless they're having kids early. But it is a bit different when you have a responsible, you know, you're responsible for other people in your life. Plus you have to, you know, maintain your passion for the music. It becomes one of those things. And I think it's like, you have to be totally uncomfortable in the setting that you're in order to pursue your dream. Like, it's uncomfortable to leave your family and kids, but you do it because that's how the pursuit, you know, that's the passion.
That's
right?
how it is.
Yeah. If you're like, hey, I have a great job, I have a great family life, you're probably not going to go out and pursue a music career, in my opinion.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and lots of people that are weekend warriors, and I think that's cool too. That's perfectly fine. Like I said, you don't have to tour 6 months out of the year if you can't do it. I know lots of people with corporate jobs, and they just have a good PTO situation where they can take a couple weekends off, or weeks, you know, weekdays off to do tours, you know, like a Thursday through Sunday thing, like I said. But yeah, I mean, I am on the boat. I don't have a corporate job. I don't have a job at all. I just record music.
Yeah.
And, you know, that's also tough. It's like, I don't want to get a job because then, you know, okay, yeah, these 6 weeks are cool, but then I'm requesting off every other week and then weeks at a time. It just doesn't work out. And, you know, I've bartended before, and it's a great side gig. You know, I've done gig work here and there, but I've been fortunate that when the studio is doing well, it really provides good income for while I'm home.
Yeah, and you're in the studio now, and you showed me around, and that's the kind of cool stuff. Like, you know, you're showing even like the lights. You're like, hey, look at these lights, and look at the, you know. So I'm like, yeah.
I was on my client's tab to do this interview.
Yeah.
But but yeah, it's like for example, I'm playing in not next week. I'm going on a tour with Iron Roses. We're leaving Wednesday through Sunday, and that's one of the reasons why I couldn't play the Ann Beretta show.
Yeah.
But what actually stings more than that is I'm missing my daughter's elementary school graduation.
Oh yeah.
And that's it's tough. But and I was like, damn it, I can't back out of these shows now. We have we have a booking agent, we have management.
Yeah.
The band has some debt we need to pay off, so we need to make money at these shows that we have guarantees at. There's 5 other people in the band that are already booked their trips, and and then they announce the fucking graduation with 2 weeks notice. It's like I could have planned around.
Yeah.
I talked to my daughter. I was like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to be there. I know you wanted me to be there, and Mom will send pictures and videos, and luckily the week after we're going on a family trip, so it's like we'll be together for like 5 days after that. So
yeah, nice.
Those are the little. That's a minor thing, like I've missed my friends' weddings. I'm missing my my brother had a baby recently, and I'm the godfather, and I'm missing the baptism, which is like the whole point of
like, aren't you supposed to be the one standing right there? But
I was like, well, I didn't, I wasn't consulted when they scheduled it. I would have suggested a different date.
Yeah.
But things like that, and I'll miss my friends' weddings again because this is what I signed up for.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. Last hot seat question. This is a question I've been asking a lot of musicians lately. What 4 musicians would you put on your personal Mount Rushmore of musicians, either for being influential or just your favorites, but 4 individual musicians? They don't have to be playing a band together. Like it could be 3 drummers and 1 singer, but like 4 individual musicians.
Well, my favorite singer-songwriter is Jason Isbell.
Okay.
Me and my wife religiously listen to his stuff. He put out a new single today. We'll see him anytime he's within a couple hundred miles of Richmond, if not further. And as far as he would definitely be on there as a guitarist, singer, and songwriter.
Okay.
I would probably do.
See, that would be one of those things that I don't think that like Matt and Chris might not necessarily like listen to, for example.
Right. And like Chris loves reggae.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't know that, but he loves reggae. I would do that. I would do, let's see.
The hot seat is getting hotter. I see you're like pulling the collar, you're getting a little sweaty.
I have to look at my Spotify recent plays to be like, oh yeah, of course, that band. Let me do I will do Scott Shiflett on bass.
Okay.
Just because I'm in the band with Matt Riddle. Weird to put him on there.
Yeah. Like Matt, not at all, but Scott for sure.
Yeah. And then I do let's see, a space. I guess I can do other stuff. Jim Atkins from Jimmy Eat World.
Nice. Good choice.
He's like they are that band is a prime example of simplicity, just with good songs.
Yeah.
None of them are shredding, doing stuff like that. I mean, so I'll put Jim Atkins, and then I would probably, let's see, on drums, I want to say, Dave Grohl. Yeah.
There you go. That'd be
just because I love simple, hard-hitting drums.
Yeah. And obviously a man of many talents. He could easily be the lead singer in that band and play guitar as well.
Exactly. And just a great person.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's actually.
I met him a long time ago. He's from Virginia. I met him. Actually, I was in Arizona, but we talked about being from the same. He's from Fairfax, Virginia, which is where I grew up.
Yeah, I know he grew up in like DC area and stuff like that, and so
Yep.
Very cool.
West of DC.
Yep. I mean, the ones that I actually have Dave Grohl on mine. I have Neil Peart from Rush as drummer because the guy is a god on drums.
Yeah.
Like, I wish he would never die, but that's what happened. But Tim Kasher from Cursive, and then Joey Cape from Legwagon, and actually even more than Legwagon, I really liked Bad Astronaut so much that I was like, this guy is like a phenomenal singer songwriter, and everything he's done in his solo career has been amazing too. So, but yeah, those are like my 4. So,
nice.
It wouldn't be a very good band because they would all be like, who's going to play bass? And like, no, it's not happening.
I bet you Joey.
What was that?
I bet you Joey Cape would play bass. He's a nice guy.
Yeah, he'd probably be like, whatever. I'll just go over here in the corner.
Yeah.
Don't worry about me. All right. Well, the spotlight is off. We'll be back in just a few minutes to kind of wrap things up and see what Pedro and Fire Sale have coming up in the near future. So stay tuned. We'll be back right after this.
Reverend Guitars embodies the idea that every run of scorching lead and every roll of finger-picked twang deserve the same passion and commitment to quality. Whether you're selling out arenas or playing in your living room, we know that what makes an instrument powerful is when players wield them to create something remarkable. A melody that moves mountains, a riff that just won't quit. We want to be there in your hands when that happens. For us, that means staying true to what we believe. Somewhere along the road of electric guitar history, it became a crazy idea that guitar makers should craft guitars with the same sense of purpose and passion, whether they're played in a bedroom or an arena. If that's a wild idea, then we're in the right place, carrying 6 strings and an attitude, and we're in good company. Reverend Guitars. Well played.
Running your own music career is incredibly difficult. Trying to get people to like, share, comment, listen, follow, it's all just overwhelming. Most musicians give up before they ever achieve success, and that's the worst. If you're looking for a better way to grow your music career, head to DIYrockcareer.com for some absolutely free training. It costs you nothing, and it could be the difference between hitting your goals and quitting your dream. Go to DIYrockcareer.com today by clicking the link below this episode.
Then I lost my way.
Welcome back to the Powered by Rock podcast. I'm here with Pedro from Fire Sale to talk about what's on the horizon for the band this year. So let's talk about what you guys have coming up. Obviously, we've talked about what you have with some of your other bands coming up, but I know you have the music video for Fool's Errand. You said it's June 9th. Do you guys have any shows? Because obviously that would be a kind of a newer thing for the band.
We don't have any shows scheduled right now, just because we're all different parts of the country.
Yeah.
But we have been working on getting the ball rolling per se on next year, try to get on some festivals, do some weekenders, some flight days. We fly to LA, do like we went to Dallas and did the show there and the video and stuff. We're thinking about, doing that in each one of our locations.
Nice.
So we'll go do some stuff and, where Matt's from in LA. We'll do some stuff here in the East Coast when they come here. And I have the studio so we can do some recording, try to make it more than just play a couple shows, like do a photo shoot or something or video. And that's kind of the tentative plan for the next couple of years. We are in the process of working on the next single. Similar to this one, we'll do another 7-inch with 2 new songs.
Nice.
With a single and a B-side. And those songs, those are songs we played at the show, line up, pretty well with what people have already heard.
Yeah.
Classic Fire Sale.
Yeah. So when you guys play a show, is it like, because obviously you don't have a huge song set list, right? But like, are you guys throwing a couple covers in there or something as well?
Well, actually, we only have limited amount of music released, but we actually have like a full record of songs ready to go. We've had for a while. We probably have it, I want to say over 10 songs at least, maybe 12 or so. Including the older stuff you've heard. And we're pretty much ready to do the next few singles. But we just have to, for example, everyone's already recorded their parts. We just have to put them together and send them off to the blasting room for mixing and mastering.
Nice.
Our drummer Matt, everything we do is with programmed drums to write. And then Matt, our drummer, Matt Morris, he has his own little studio in his house, so he records the drums. And then I'll edit them a little bit, and then we'll send them off to mixing and mastering.
Nice. Yeah.
But,
it's crazy that you can replace a drummer to some extent with just a computer program these days. And they're like, I hate you guys. No, but then they actually go and record them.
But yeah, we have the music video coming out June 9th. And after that, we'll work on some new singles and hopefully some shows.
Very cool. And then obviously we'll put the link to the music, the 7-inch, all that stuff below the episode here. But do you have anything else that you want to do, or any shout outs that you want to give before we, before we go today?
Shout out to the bandmates.
Yeah.
Matt and Chris.
Yeah.
Morris, Riddle, and Swinney. Hope you guys are doing well and your families are doing well. Can't wait to hang out again. We had a good time together.
Yeah.
For just meeting, we had a good time. Just drank some beers and ate some food and played some music. It was cool.
Shot the shit and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's cool to because even being in a band together, we haven't talked that much together besides some text threads.
Yeah.
It's cool to I got a lot of Matt Riddle stories from Face to Face and Noise Your Name and Pulley, so that was cool.
Bluetooth connected.
Yeah. I mean, it's just weird that he's been like in these bands with like some of the most iconic
I mean, like
kind of groups.
being in a band with him in this capacity has been like kind of crazy, like pinch me kind of thing. Like if you told 17-year-old me or 25-year-old me that this was going to happen eventually, I wouldn't believe you.
Yeah.
But then to actually meet in person and get his vibe and hear stories and it's like, wow, like we ended up becoming like brothers, all four of us versus just being sort of like online friends,
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is you're fronting the band too, which is like kind of an even more pinch me moment. Is like, sure, if you were playing like guitar in a band with Matt Riddle,
right?
You're just kind of over there. It'd be a different thing.
Him kind of, he had a lot of nice things to say about the writing and the melodies. So that was cool for him to be on board. That was a bigger thing. So yeah, that was that's my shout out to the bandmates.
Very, very cool. Last question before we go. I always ask this of everybody. What one new music, like one new artist, one new album, one new song, basically from this year, would you recommend people go check out? Now, this is Powered by Rock, so in the rock genre of some sort. And I know obviously you're in other bands, which that we've talked about already, so they can go check out that stuff for sure.
I will say, check out, if you like classic pop punk, I would check out Crooked Teeth.
Crooked Teeth.
Yep, out of LA area. My former bandmate from Shot Clock, Emma, has been playing with Crooked Teeth for the last, I want to say year or more. She moved out to LA recently, actually about a year ago, and they have been kicking ass, writing, recording, touring, nice. all independent, no management, no label, and they're kicking ass. So I would say give them a shout.
Nice. Crooked Teeth. I'll have to check them out. I haven't heard of them yet. So that's why I like to ask for recommendations, because I'm like, I always like to hear new music, and that's why this whole thing was created, to like highlight independent musicians and stuff. So
good people.
Yeah, very cool. Well, I want to thank you so much today for being here, Pedro. Obviously from Fire Sale, go check out the show notes below this to see the social media, the music links, get the 7-inch, all that stuff. And also remember that Powered by Rock podcast is powered by our listeners. So to show us some support, please be sure to subscribe and share the podcast on social media. You can also click below to make a donation to the podcast. Definitely not necessary, but it helps us keep making this thing with some awesome guests like Pedro here. You can see the full video interview on YouTube and Spotify as well. If you want to check out some of our awesome content and our merch or gear, head to poweredbyrock.com to see what's good there. That's our show for today. Until we see you again for the next episode, rock on.
Supposed to be